Hello. My name is Megan Pinnell. I'm a senior at Ballston Spa High School, attending the University of Connecticut in the fall to major in pharmaceutical studies.
My name is Braden Damba. I am a senior at Ballston Spa, and I'm undecided where I'm going, but I'm going to major in political science.
We will now do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The emergency exits are there and also there. This year, we will have a four-section program. Section 1 will be opening statements. Section 2 will be generic questions to the candidates. And Section 3 will be questions from the public. If you wish to ask a question, you must submit the "Would like to ask a question" sheet to Mr. Hornick. Student moderators will randomly select 6 sheets to ask questions. You must accept the rules that are on the sheet to ask a question. A microphone will be brought to you to ask your questions. Section 4 will be closing statements. This year, we have 3 candidates running for 2 seats on the Board of Education. We'll now do opening statements. Mr. Turbiak.
Yes, good evening. My name is Tim Turbiak. I am a resident here in the village of Ballston Spa, and I have served on the Board of Education for the last 3 years. In that role, I spent the last 2 years on the policy committee and served as the PTA liaison for the last 3. First, thank you for joining us all here tonight. I'm honored to be here, joined by Jason and Fabrizia, to have this opportunity to speak to the community. And thank you to the students for hosting this event. We didn't have a Meet the Candidates night when I ran 3 years ago, so I feel like I missed out on the opportunity to formally introduce myself. For those who may not know my story, I moved to the area from Brooklyn with my wife Eliana back in 2019. When choosing where to live, I got to hear how great the Ballston Spa schools are, and with my wife and I expecting our first child at the time, it was a clear choice to move to this district. When I ran 3 years ago, I wanted to help prepare the students of our community for the world beyond our classrooms and to help them be inspired to achieve greatness. I run now to continue that vision and to help oversee an even better district for the future. I look at my now 2 young children, Ryan and Aubriana, and imagine what the district will look like when they attend school. I think about how I want them to have the best education possible and what that will look like for them. I see a district that has the resources to build on their strengths, work on their weaknesses, and minimize, if not remove, the obstacles which get in their way. I understand for that to happen for my own children, it must be available for all students. For that reason, I will strongly advocate that the district receives these resources so every student has their individual needs met. While it is great to have these resources, if our students are not in school to receive them, they can go to waste. While the occasional sick day may be required, the issue of chronic absenteeism in our state is a problem which needs to be addressed. There are many factors which go into play, but the end result is the same. If a student is not in class, we may not see them reach their full potential. We need to address the issues which keep students out of the classroom and develop policies and practices which not only bring them back, but give them the desire to be there and want to learn. If reelected, I will support policy which builds on that ideal, one which develops a culture of inclusion for all students and helps minimize the distractions which may affect learning. I feel like so much has changed in the last 3 years, and despite several bumps in the road, we are in a better spot than we were, and we continue down that road to achieve even more. It's my hope that you will entrust me as a member of the Board of Education as we continue on this journey.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Fabrizia Rodriguez. This is my first year applying for the school board. For those of you who don't know me, I've moved here to the district in 2018. I live in the town of Ballston. I have 2 boys, very active boys, who attend Gordon Creek 5th grade and 3rd grade. Because they are very active, I'm very familiar and involved with youth sports, from lacrosse to football, to the soccer club, to BARC, and including the music department here at Gordon Creek. I've served on various boards in the past, including workforce development boards, and the Hispanic Coalition of New York. I've been an attorney for 13 years now, and I have been working closely with families in the Capital District region, the Mohawk Valley, and Berkshire County. The law that I specialize in is in immigration law and child welfare law. So I deal with many families who are torn apart, and my job is to bring them back together. I've also been a parent liaison for the Amsterdam School District for over 5 years. In that role, I got to become very familiar with school board involvement, the activities of superintendents, principals, and curriculum leaders. Amsterdam has been a targeted school, and I got to be part of the process to help them with planning on how to better involve their parents and students and address some of the issues they have with attendance and involvement. I also was a grant writer, both in my work at nonprofit Essential Civico, but also with the Capital District BOCES grant writing department. If those of you who don't know, Capital District BOCES has a very well-established grant writing department who's available to help all Capital District school districts in finding different resources. Lastly, outside of my involvement with families, I'm a very invested mother and enjoy my time here in upstate New York. And I came here and fell in love with the town of Ballston because of the property I have. But what really sold me was my realtor showing me the data here of Ballston Spa School District. She showed me the data, and I was convinced that this was the culture that I want to raise my family in. So thank you for the opportunity tonight to get to know me, and look forward to meeting many of you.
Mr. Furneaux.
Good evening. It's been my pleasure to serve on the Board of Education for the last 6
Please explain your long-term vision for Ballston Spa Central School District across all grade levels. Ms. Rodriguez.
So the question asks for a long-term vision, and this is something I've actually been pondering a lot. When I first moved here to the district, my kids were still very small, but now as they're 5th grade and 3rd grade, it's becoming a little bit more reality when you see these New York State testing results, when you see their interests, when you see their development start to move on and flower. So long-term district vision that I see is just really to support the mission right now. The mission is to produce some well-rounded Ballston Spa citizens, to have them prepared for the next level of their education or workforce, either or. So my vision long-term is to make sure that all students have the resources, the tools, right? Not just students, but the staff and coaches that are working with them. So it's very important as we begin to modernize. I think COVID was a big reality check to me that technology is so important. And tools are so important to provide our students and train them early, right? Get them ready early, because we saw how many people were just completely lost with the technology era that I call it in 2020. So my long-term vision is to just prepare and predict the future. Yes, I said predict the future. Prepare and predict the future. Get our kids ready, always advance ahead of time, be a little bit better and above the competition that we're putting our kids through.
Mr. Furneaux.
My number one priority for a long-term vision is to raise the overall academic achievement of all our students at all levels. This includes graduation rates, this includes standardized testing score, this includes our own internal assessments. In the last 4 years, the district has introduced several new instructional programs at the elementary level. One of these was even ahead of its time in terms of the phonics-based reading, which now has been mandated at the state level that all districts will follow. And so with this and the introduction of a formalized MTSS, multi-tier system of supports for our students, we would like to see a continued shift to higher performance at each grade level. The board asks Ms. Kathleen Skelly, our instructional leader, to give us reports each year showing mid-year, or beginning of year, mid-year, and end of year improvements and scores in the district. As part of that, we need to continue our investment in the health and wellness supports, including parent and caregiver support. And then I understand we need to continue our broad portfolio of extracurricular activities.
Mr. Turbiak.
Yeah, so like I had mentioned before, I have 2 young kids, Ryan and Aubriana, aged 4 and 2 respectively. So when we talk about long-term vision, I'm really in for the long-term vision of this district. What I see as the long-term vision, well, obviously we continue the support of our current curriculum. They help develop the resource, providing the resources that help bring out the best in our students. Every student has their own individual needs, have those resources available to them. We have to attack the obstacles we can control. We have, a lot of students in our district who may not be as advantaged as others, so if we are able to provide those resources to them to help provide that equitable chance to achieve a meaningful diploma, we must work towards that.
Ms. Rodriguez, do you have a rebuttal?
My only rebuttal is just to point out that we have great graduation rates at 87% right now, and almost half the students are getting advanced regents. So I think when it comes to higher performance, we're already doing it. So maintaining exactly what we're doing with more of a look into our culture to make sure that we're maintaining the culture and that we're properly supporting kids at different levels. Our Regents scores show you that all kids are learning at different times, but by the time they get here in high school, they're ready for that advanced Regents, and that's what I love about Ballston. Everybody learns at different speeds, but they have the support to get to the finish line. So I would say, keep up with what we're doing and just seeing what's working, making sure we're keeping what's working, we're keeping it at the present.
Mr. Furneaux, do you have a rebuttal?
I have no further comments on that.
Mr. Turbiak, do you have a rebuttal?
None.
One of the most important things which a school board does is prepare the yearly budget. Please explain your budgeting philosophy when it comes to writing a school budget and how that would impact taxing and spending within the district. Mr. Furneaux?
Each year, our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Brian Sirianni, puts together the budget timeline, puts together the steps of the budget. So There are a set of district priorities that are presented to the board. And from that, there is then the work that goes into the analysis of what are costs that we just have to include. Everyone here knows that gas prices have gone up, utilities prices have gone up, insurance prices have gone up. Those are realities for the district. At that point, there is a analysis and a review of how do we face the realities of increased costs from year to year against what our instructional needs are and what our proper allocation of resources, proper allocation of staff for classrooms. That work goes on. My philosophy is that I love what our district does and that we are very evenly keeled each year to year to year. We don't have a year where suddenly there's a 10% increase or there's a big budget gap. We have consistency, and our district residents have a comfort level of continuity and know what to expect from us.
Mr. Turbiak?
Yeah, so when developing a budget philosophy, a lot of it you have to consider, much like what Jason said, a lot of the costs that go into, like our gas, our insurance rates, and we have to ultimately take that into consideration when being, being fiscally responsible. But at the end of the day, we still need to consider the needs of our students. So we have to continue to build on the successes that we have. We have to find solutions to address where we may be coming up short. And, how can we do that without being a burden on the taxpayers as well?
Ms. Rodriguez?
My strategy with school budgeting, unlike my incumbents, I don't have experience directly with a school budget, but my strategy would be, first, obviously, receiving the structural bones of what we need just to operate, right? You begin with those and try to plan for the future with that. We all know our light bill went up this year. We know gas is going up. We know a lot of things are going up. Materials have been going up in order to make repairs. And then we just have to keep up with the economy. So we're never able to really plan that. So unfortunately, the past couple years, that's exactly what's going on. We can have a booming economy next year and maybe things will even out for us, but year to year, it's constantly first starting with the bare minimums. What do you need in order to operate? So running your own personal home is just like that. I know we have parents watching, viewers, so I'm trying to relate to you in your own language. What does it take to operate your home? Like, what are the minimum things? So that's where I would start. Then I would look into maintaining our staff, right? So that's the next level of what is it, how much will it cost to maintain our staff? One of the most popular rumors about Ballston Spa is how amazing our staff is. And I can tell you from Gordon Creek, I have that personal experience that they're amazing. And so maintaining staff would be my second priority, seeing what we need to do, what do the numbers look like in order to maintain. Obviously, we know that deals more with conversations with unions and what pay raise scales are involved with that, but working together with that for a collaborative success. Lastly, we can't expect what's going on right now, which is our fringe benefits, right? We don't know what goes on year to year with that, so that can increase. But constantly working towards finding alternatives is my biggest plan for school budgeting is, school budget doesn't happen in April. We can have conversations in September and October, look for other resources. One thing we talked about was that our light bill went up. Well, what are we doing as a district to be proactive in that? What funding is there on the state level to help us go green, to help us save some type of, cost in that sense? So what LED lights do we need to put in, et cetera? I think we're one of the only school districts with a football field without LED lights. So that's just one example, right? Is time up? Okay.
Mr. Furneaux, do you have a rebuttal?
I just wanted to add that it's very important for people to understand how the investment in our school district actually pays dividends and comes back to you financially in terms of the budget and in terms of the taxes you pay. So each year, our school district's area's tax base has grown. For this year, it's 2%. So when we have our tax levy, the increase in the tax base helps offset that so that the real increase to an individual's taxes is lower. So having businesses relocate to our area, having businesses come to our district because of the school district actually is an investment for all of us.
Mr. Turbiak, do you have a rebuttal?
Yeah, just one thing to add, when we vote on the budget, voting yes is committing to basically providing the supports and the resources the district needs so that we can help students maximize their potential. And we try our best every year so that we do it within fiscal responsibility and that's
Ms. Rodriguez, do you have a rebuttal?
Just one last point is that I know our budget primarily we spend on our staff, and I just want to make sure people remember that our graduation rate is very high, and that's very inviting to new people who are moving here who are relocating for work opportunities. So something to keep in mind that relocation being inviting to new people to come to our community heavily weighs on our graduation rate, and we only achieve those thanks to our staff.
Some budget years, like this one, are more difficult than others. When budget cuts have to be made, please explain what philosophy you would use to make cuts. Mr. Turbiak?
Yeah, it's, when you have to make budget cuts, it weighs heavy because you think about who it affects and how it may affect them. You think about when you cut teachers, what students, whose teacher was that student's favorite teacher, and it weighs heavy on you. But we ultimately, as a board, have a responsibility to all our students, to the community, to the district, to make sure that we're able to provide them the best opportunities within a sense of fiscal responsibility that doesn't burden taxpayers. And in a time like now where things aren't as great as they were, and we try to have to make the difficult decisions, and but ultimately it has to figure out what would we have to do that we're still providing the best opportunities for all our students.
Ms. Rodriguez?
For budget cuts, one of the, this is the part where I think a lot about budgeting. It starts back in September, October. The conversations need to already start happening. I'm very big on shopping around for services. So the first thing I will look at is our contractual services. How can we rebid things? What networks can we tap into? What local municipality can help us with? What state funding can help us with? There's tons of grants out there, tons of resources we can tap into, and really good people in our community who I know would help us. The mayor has been very vocal for the school district, comes to every opportunity he can. He's there for the kids. A stronger partnership with him and the county in general is where I would start to see what we can do for those contractual services. Sometimes other school districts use partnerships for services in order to have some cost savings. So that's where I will look first. But again, that conversation can't happen in April. Those are things that we have to start working on September, October, November.
Mr. Furneaux?
The board and I support our business office and the very excellent work they do in terms of making sure that we have as low costs as possible with the best value for our taxpayers. We are joining in consortiums with other school districts We are looking at long-term contracts with favorable terms for us, and we are looking to maximize state reimbursement for all our purchases. So this has to do with the timing of purchases. This has to do with the timing of them and the formulation of the contracts to make sure that we lock in a price that we like, but not necessarily lock it in for too long if we think potentially there's the opportunity for more favorable circumstances. So this is part of the calculus that gets us down to reductions in force, allocations of instructional staff. So each year, there are some reductions in force, and there is some hiring of new positions within our district. This, again, is trying to make sure that we have the best possible environments for our students. This year, we have some reductions in force at the elementary level. I can share that still 50% of our grade levels at all our buildings will have elementary class sizes under 20 students, and we will not have any class sizes over 24 at any of our elementary buildings. For a district this size, this is very advantageous to us. Last year, we added a autism classroom for students so that we did not have to outsource them. This year in the special education realm, we're adding a 12-1 classroom, bringing more fiscal savings to our district.
Mr. Turbiak, do you have a rebuttal?
Yes, I just want to give a lot of credit to our business office. They're working hard all year round to negotiate contracts, filing for grants, and essentially maximizing every dollar possible for the students of our district, and for making sure that we have what we need, and we're doing it within using every dollar to make sure that it goes to our students and to our community.
Ms. Rodriguez, do you have a rebuttal?
Just an extra comment. One thing I didn't mention was a lot of districts sometimes lose money when Medicaid reimbursements aren't properly done on time. So that would be something else I'd be looking into before making any budget cuts.
Mr. Furneaux, do you have a rebuttal?
I do not.
There are several large labor unions with our school district. We are faced with bus driver shortages and pending statewide teacher shortages. Please explain your philosophy when dealing with labor negotiations, especially when it comes to the attraction of qualified candidates and the retention of those candidates. Ms. Rodriguez?
I have some familiarity with the transportation department's union, with CDTA. I used to run the transportation department for the city of Amsterdam, and so I had constant negotiations with their union leader. One of the most important things when working with unions is first making sure we're respectful of their safety. So teacher unions and bus safety as well, right? So one of the strategies is always to look at what's first, what are required for their safety. When you provide them with a safe environment, they're going to be happier to come here. It's my experience that unhappy employees are mainly because they don't feel supported by their district, or they're in an unsafe environment that they're fearful to go to work, right? Or going to work becomes more of an emotional stress than anything else. So that's usually my approach when working with labor unions, is first making sure that their representatives feel safe coming here, feel included, feel supported, and understanding a little bit more about the tools and resources they need in order to do what we're asking them to do. When it comes to salaries, I know every district's different, but I think we do a really good job at making sure individuals are compensated for their experience and their qualifications. And like I said, it shows tremendously in our scores. So I think that would be my approach with labor unions.
Mr. Furneaux?
We have an expectation for our superintendent to continue the excellent relations that we have with our associations. This doesn't just happen sporadically. This happens 365 days a year. Our relationships have been long-standing. We have excellent leadership. Kim Pusateri, our president of our Teachers Association, has been incredibly valuable for us in terms of putting together our professional development opportunities for our instructional staff. Ms. Bolster, the president of the Administrators Council, Ms. McGowan, the president of the Association of Teaching Assistants, and Ms. Petrina, president of our CSEA Association, have all been welcoming and open to dialogue and conversation with many facets of our district's operations. This is where now we don't have any surprises for anyone. We keep them informed, we keep them part of the process, and again, this is an expectation that our superintendent will maintain and continue these relationships. The other part of it is making sure that our contracts with them allow us to attract well-qualified staff to our district.
Mr. Turbiak?
Much credit must go to our superintendent for the great relations we have with our unions and our associations. It allows us to maintain this relationship, that we're able to, have that openness and have them make them feel able to approach with any issues and any problems, and allows for that negotiation, so that not only are the teachers that we have within our district happy, but we're able to attract new teachers to this district and to build, into lesson plan.
Ms. Rodriguez, do you have a rebuttal?
No rebuttal.
Mr. Furneaux, do you have a rebuttal?
I have nothing more to add.
Mr. Turbiak, do you have a rebuttal? No. Explain how you see Global Foundries expansion impacting the Ballston Spa Central School District. Mr. Furneaux?
Certainly, it's positive to our district in terms of our tax revenues, the pilot revenues in the case of the Global Foundries facilities, but it's also a huge opportunity for us to leverage that development and our partnership with them to classes at our P-Tech facility over in Malta through the wonderful partnership that we have with Hudson Valley Community College, and potentially other relationships for opportunities for student involvement there, or opportunities for their staff to be involved and to serve as mentors for our school district. So I see it as nothing but a positive. And again, it goes back to the investment that we make in our school district is the investment that we make in our community, and it makes us a very attractive place for business opportunities like this.
Mr. Turbiak?
Yeah, so, the relations we have with Global Foundries from, they came before I moved to the district, so, but I've heard nothing but great things in terms of what they've been able to provide to our community and to our district. The revenues that they bring in with our pilot programs have brought in great revenue to our district, and the potential for a new plant to be built in the near future provides additional opportunities for money to be brought into our district. The investments we have had with the investment in that we've had with Global Foundries. I'm sorry. I'm done. Yeah. Continue.
Ms. Rodriguez?
So Global Foundries coming to our school district is a great opportunity. It's definitely going to bring more people, right? More people working here means more people having lunch downtown. It means more people shopping here, more people going to our post office, more people using our businesses. So economically, it sounds and it looks amazing, right? But what the elephant in the room that nobody speaks about, it doesn't mean that those people are going to live in our school district. So as long as both the government and the school district are ready to embrace all those new workers and be inviting and be enticing is the word I want to use for them to resettle here in our school district, that's where we're going to see the greater gain, because now our property taxes are going to rise, our local taxes, which is our income sources, right? And there we're able to balance the level of tax levels that we have in our budget for all. So it's a great opportunity to have new families move in. Definitely job opportunities there. Amazing families will probably be looking at us, but it's also high-level competition because our properties here in Ballston Spa are no different than the properties of our competitors in surrounding towns. So what are they going to look at is what do they get here in Ballston Spa? What do they get with the Ballston Spa School District, and compare it to competitors? Because living in neighboring towns is only a 15, 20-minute commute for them. So it's a great opportunity, but the elephant in the room is what are we going to do to get ready for that? What are we going to do to be a welcoming community? What are we going to do to be an enticing community?
Mr. Furneaux, do you have a rebuttal?
I'd just also like to recognize that part of Global Foundries being here is something called the Global Foundries Foundation, and that foundation provides grants to some of our district groups, from the PTAs to the schools themselves, to programs within the schools, some of the extracurricular programs, and we'd just like to very much thank them for their partnership.
Mr. Terbiak, do you have a rebuttal?
No.
Ms. Rodriguez, do you have a rebuttal?
No.
How do you believe you can help address the diverse socioeconomic needs of the district across the grade levels as a member of the school board? Mr. Terbiak?
Yeah, so one of the greatest areas of diversity in our district is our socioeconomic one. And, you know, we have around 35% of our student population is economically disadvantaged. And, you know, you really have to realize that, you know, not all of them have the opportunities to achieve the same as their counterparts in school. You know, they may not have the resources at home. They may require to, you know, complete homework, or they may not have the ability to partake in after-school activities. And, you know, we as a district, you know, we owe it to them that, you know, we need to provide them the resources so that, you know, they have the same opportunities to achieve that meaningful diploma as their counterparts do.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Could you repeat the question again?
How do you believe you can help address the diverse socioeconomic needs of the district across the grade levels as a member of the school board?
Well, my professional background is working with families who are low income or high needs families. That's been my 13 years professional experience. So I bring that voice to the board. I also bring a wealth of knowledge of networks that we have in our community. Part of my work is to connect my families to the right avenues so that they can get the support they need in order to reunify with their children. So I bring that voice to the board. Also, my grant writing experience. They are primarily for underprivileged school districts or high need school districts. Our numbers are at 38% right now, economically disadvantaged. So when it comes from a grant writing perspective, we are in a very good place to be recipients of funding. So I bring that voice to the board.
Mr. Furneaux?
So our district is more economic diverse than other districts that are close to us, but I have the expectation, and I hope to see this through in the next 3 years, that we don't have to say that we're good enough because of our socioeconomic diversity. I think that we can be better and rise above that. I'm setting the expectations again that we should be able to support all our students and our families so that we can raise academic achievement. As I mentioned before, we need to continue our health and wellness supports, which include parent and caregiver support. If we have students in crisis in our district, it's because their families are in crisis. And we need, again, to do everything that we can do to support them and to support our students. And one of the ways that this shows up is in terms of attendance. If students come to our high school, they're going to graduate. Most of our graduation issues are, in fact, because of attendance. So we can do everything we can do. Part of that is partnering with our community governments and trying to make it as best as possible. I have expectations that we can do better.
Mr. Turbiak, do you have a rebuttal?
So one of the things I advocated for strongly last year was free meals throughout New York State. And now thanks to federal mandates, we get to see that here in Ballston Spa. And that's just one of the many ways we can provide opportunities to our economically disadvantaged students to help them achieve everything they can.
Ms. Rodriguez, do you have a rebuttal?
Just a few extra comments. As a boy mom, I'm very involved with sports, and I've seen what they do with engaging kids and keeping kids. One of my best motivation to get my child to go to school is the day he has gym. So my voice to the board will also be addressing those needs. I think no matter what's going on at home, they should feel welcomed here. They should feel excited to be here. And even if it's not math or science that they're excited about, they're excited for that 2:30 bell, 3:30 bell, because they know they're going to see their coach and their teammates.
Mr. Furneaux, do you have a rebuttal?
I do not.
Are there any other sheets of people who would like to ask a question?
Michael Bleichel?
I'd like to commend the board for allowing the public to have one question this year, as opposed to last year where there were no questions allowed. And I think that's an important point, because none of the statements we've heard so far provide any insight to the parents or grandparents here as to their child's future and the major educational issues of our day. You just haven't addressed them at all. Having said that, I'd like to ask my question. Do you believe a 13 to 18-year-old child is capable of making a non-revocable decision that they wish to change their identity, either through castration, breast removal, puberty blockers, or otherwise give up their option to have children in their adult life?
Ms. Rodriguez?
Since this is not specific to a book or a lesson, I'm going to address it as general as I can. I believe that the question you asked is a bit out of scope of what a school board member has influence over. But if you were to address the question specifically to something that a child is doing here in the school building, my main question will be, does it cultivate a safe and supportive learning environment for the child to you? And that will help me, I guess, better answer your question. But while kids are here, we should be providing them a safe learning environment. They should feel welcomed, and they should feel supported to learn all their options. What happens at home is not what our educators can control, and is not what the school board can control. but what we can control is that they feel safe here and that they feel supported. So if learning is,
They're not under any threat. Sir, you're on the line, please. If the other members have a chance to answer the question.
Mr. Furneaux?
I have no response.
Mr. Turbiak?
It's my firm belief that our schools must provide a safe and inclusive learning environment.
There's nothing to do with safety.
Jason Gertler?
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to hear from us. There is currently a proposal from the New York State Legislature dubbed as the Equal Rights Amendment to be included on the November general election ballot known as Prop 1, which would allow for the codification of, among other things, allowing biological males to compete in female sports based on gender ideology. Today, that proposal was deemed unconstitutional and has reached an appellate court pending appeal to be returned to the ballot. Do you believe that biological males should fairly compete in female sports in our district, thus erasing women's rights, eliminating female competition, and essentially squashing young girls' aspirations to exceed in women's sports?
Mr. Furneaux?
In order to serve as a board member, the board member has to take an oath that says that they will support the Constitution and the laws of the state of New York. And I took that oath, and as a board member, and when I serve as a board member, I will uphold that oath.
Mr. Turbiak?
I think the state of New York has pretty clear laws and guidelines with regards to this matter, and as a board member, it is my duty to fulfill those despite personal belief.
Ms. Rodriguez?
as an attorney, I trust the court system. Sometimes I don't like the response. There was a very controversial woman's right that was demoted recently, thanks to the Supreme Court. So sometimes we don't like what the court system does, but I fully believe and support our court system. And I also believe in the power of electing your representatives. So that is a great question and very important when somebody is voting at the polls for their local government representatives who will decide on a state level what a school board is mandated to follow. So, thank you.
We will now have a 3-minute closing statements. Mr. Furneaux.
This year, in speaking with our instructional staff, I'm starting to hear that students are really starting to recover from basically the lost 2 years and maybe even a couple of recovery years after that from the COVID pandemic. I think it's very important for our district now to make sure that we focus and take full advantage of our students basically coming back to being students again, full-time. We also have an upcoming capital project which will impact all our community, impact our schools, impact our students greatly. I am committed to seeing that capital project through. I think it's very important. We will, in fact, involve community input. We will, in fact, have numerous stakeholder input in that, and we want to make sure that we are fiscally responsible, but also have the best that we can for our students and our community. And so we have that to look forward to, and I'm very interested in making sure that we have the best possible outcome with that.
Ms. Rodriguez.
We are in some really great, awesome, innovative times. We're finally digging out of COVID. I'm very excited about the future of Ballston Spa School District, the town itself. Global Foundries coming in. It's such a great time for leaders to work. It's a great time. There's a lot of options. What I love the most about Ballston Spa, though, is the great families that are here. I've really gotten to know hundreds of families, and I'm not kidding with the hundreds because of all the sports I'm running around doing, and all the different needs they have. Every kid is so different, so unique. As a mom of two, I'm seeing it right now, and it's difficult. What works for my oldest does not work for my youngest. So I think it's very important to be a school board member, to bring that voice. I come from a family of educators as well. My dad was a 30-year bus driver. My mom was a 10-year bus driver. My sister's been a teacher for over 20 years. So the topic of education and child development has definitely been a part of me for a very long time. Supporting the families I support, I greatly believe in that when you provide kids what they need to flourish here at school, you know, we can combat what's going on at home. We can't control that. That's just the facts. We can't control what goes on at home. But here we have full control of what the environment is like for the child, what resources they have in their fingertips, what they're learning. I'm constantly impressed to see the things that my fifth graders comes home to and shows me that he's able to achieve at such an early age. So it's a great time to be active. If those of you who are listening online, please be vocal. Talk to your teachers, talk to your guidance counselors, talk to your principals. Tell everybody, what do you need, you know? I'm fortunate to see many of you, but I'm not sure if my colleagues are able to. So it's important to speak up, let people get to know your kids. That's the best way teachers and staff can support you. So that's the voice I bring, and don't forget to vote May 21st. Thank you.
Mr. Turbiak?
First of all, thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you, Jason and Fabrizia, for sharing your visions and hopes for our great district. Being a member of the board for the last 3 years has been an eye-opening experience. I've learned so much about our district and how it operates. I've seen so many highlights and successes that have been achieved by the students and staff. More importantly, I've learned so much about our community, and I've felt the support it has given our schools. It's been honored to serve you all, to advocate for our students, and I hope to continue to serve you in the future. Our district has a clear mission to provide an excellent education that maximizes the potential of each student, to partner with families in the community to help our students become responsible and well-rounded adults, all with the ultimate goal of a meaningful diploma for all students. We have a budget which outlines the commitment to maximizing the success of all of our students, and when we come together to vote on that budget as a community on May 21st, we decide to join in on that commitment to our students. As we venture into the future, we can already see what challenges lay ahead for us, and I'll be the first to admit it can appear as daunting at times, much daunting like public speaking. But I have the utmost faith in our district and in our community that we, like many times before, will join together to ensure the best possible outcome for all our students. Sitting on the board gives us the ability to oversee our district as we make our way towards tomorrow, and it is my hope that you will once again bestow upon me the wonderful opportunity to serve on the board once again and see us into that future. Thank you.
Thank you for attending tonight's Meet the Candidates Night. A reminder that school board and school budget elections are next Tuesday, May 21st. The polls will open from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. Milton and Ballston residents will vote at the high school, and Malta residents will vote at the Malta Town Hall.